per-view buyer I am. Take that any way you want it, but I'll tell you how I take it. NordVPN.com/Fightful. Fastest VPN on the planet, global server network, all that good stuff. That's great. But a big reason why I got NordVPN.com/Fightful is all the pay-per-views I buy, all the money we're spending. We're trying to control costs as a company, as a household. You can get those UFC pay-per-views at a fraction of the price you're paying here in America. Plus, you can get all kinds of great content that you wouldn't normally see thanks to those services as well. Shows that are on overseas services, things that you want to watch a little bit early so you get on that UK time and watch them. Being able to change the interfaces of things like the WWE Network. Maybe you don't like Peacock, anything like that. NordVPN.com/Fightful gives you that ability while having the fastest VPN on the planet. Also, you just get so much more out of your internet experience with NordVPN.com/Fightful. Subscribe to Fight and AEW Plus. Watch AEW without commercials. Watch bare knuckle boxing. Watch UFC pay-per-views, boxing pay-per-views at the rates they're getting over in the UK. Change your virtual location with just one click. And hey, if you need any help using it, they got that 24/7 tech support. NordVPN.com/. What's up, you guys? Welcome to Fightful. It's November 2nd, 2024. We're here with your WWE Crown Jewel post show. Before we even get into it, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, tap that bell for notifications, drop a damn fruit emoji. Let us know that you're here, something like that. We got a friend of mine, man, going on 8 years we were talking about since I've known this fella. And man, you've done an awful lot of great stuff in media as well. I often see you at these events. You do these great videos on Twitter as well. We've got Andrew Baydala. How you doing, man?
Sean, thanks for the intro. Yeah, it's been 8 years. NXT. I remember that in San Antonio. I had a blast. And thank you, like I said, for the warm welcome. Happy to be here. Long time coming. So I appreciate it.
It was us, Justin LaBar, Demon Diva. I can't remember who else. But I mean,
Matt from Wrestle Rumble, I think.
Yes, Matt from Wrestle Rumble, who was a wonderful fella.
Yeah,
that guy.
Good dude.
Wonderful dude. So happy to know him as well. But get your super chats and humper chats in. If this is your first time here and you're going, what the hell are those? If you're on youtube.com/Fightful, you can send a super chat, get your question or statement read on the air. If you're anywhere else, we get dozens of thousands of people watching on Twitter, X, Twitch, Facebook, the like. You can go to humperchats.com. That's hump like a camel, or perhaps some other recreational or romantic activities. Humperchats.com. I know there's a lot of stuff that people want to talk about. In addition to this show, there were a bunch of WWE cuts yesterday. I wanted to clarify because there was like some confusion regarding the departures language. That wasn't a WWE thing. That was a me thing, because earlier this year, there was a fella who I know had creative plans after his contract was going to be up. And then all of a sudden he finds himself headed away from the company. And one of our writers used the term released. And then WWE was like, no, it was a contract expiration. In the case of Indy and Tegan, they were released. And we found that out later on. Baron Corbin was notified of his contract extending or not being extended. So that was a bit of a catch-all. If you guys have any questions on that, send a super chat, send a humper chat. We have a big report on it over on FightfulSelect.com. I'll brag about that later on. We had a nice rundown.
Be like wordsmith, huh? With your words, you got to just be like very careful. Yes. It seems.
Oh my God, you have to be very, very careful. But FightfulSelect.com had a nice rundown of what was going to happen on the show, the producers, match times, and the like. We have an update on the releases. On Sunday, we're going to tell you about who they have requested for Raw on Netflix, as well as some of the people who were at the Netflix shoot last week. One of them, awkwardly enough, Andrew, was Baron Corbin.
Wow.
There. Yeah.
It's happened before, right? I mean, somebody was asked to like promote a PLE once, and then they're like, oops, I'm fired. So it happens.
There you go. Our friend Tim Traver from the Diecast Collective, he is always showing off his great diecast cars. First off, thank you so much for this generous donation. Thank you. He says, hey, everyone, I'm doing great. We haven't seen him around much lately. He says, pay $54 for the year subscription of Fightful Select. Hey, I thank you so much for that, my friend. He says he's not going to watch the Vince doc. Did you watch it, and what did you think of it, Andrew?
Yeah, I watched it, obviously. It seemed like it was something that WWE would want to put out the first couple episodes, and then all of a sudden it got to a point where it was like, uh-oh. But I felt like it wasn't for the wrestling fanatic. It was for somebody who doesn't really know all the ins and outs of professional wrestling, and it gave those people a good historical background, both positive and negatively, on one Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
The way that I explained it, there's a cafe I go to, Grounded All Day Cafe here in Lexington, and the guy knows I work in wrestling, and he's like, man, I can't believe he did all that crazy stuff. And I said, here's the best way I can explain it. People who don't watch wrestling say, I can't believe he did all that crazy stuff. People that watch wrestling say, I can't believe they left out so much of the crazy stuff he did. Like, that's
right. You were never going to win. You were never going to win
Yeah.
with the diehards and the people who do this for a living, because it's like there's so much more meat on the bone. And then for people like my wife who watched it, she was like, "Wow, I never knew any of this stuff." And it's like, yeah, because you're not in it day to day.
Exactly. And I mean, there's, I obviously you could tell they went back and they were like, well, this story isn't finished. And Bill Simmons even said they didn't make it for like a casual, or they didn't make it for a hardcore audience. They made it for a casual audience. They wanted it to hit the Netflix top 10 and all that, which they did. He also says, earlier this year, lost my dad at age 72. Tim, I'm so sorry. I lost my grandmother as well this year. It's very rough. And he says, I'll be making his birthday soon. My dad will be 73 in a few days. We're sending our love to you, Tim. You've always been such a great dude to you. We're so happy to see you back. Hope Kelly's doing well also. But let's talk about this WWE Crown Jewel show, but maybe a couple things beforehand, Andrew. And this is one you actually put on my radar earlier this week. You're like, Goldberg is not going to be at this show, and I'll tell you why, because he's getting inducted into the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame. Are Florida Georgia line in the Hall of Fame?
No. I mean, they might be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which would be ridiculous. No offense to FGL fans out there, but no.
They had the big WWE connection for a little bit.
They did. They were the big WWE fans. I remember them, ZZ Top, a bunch of other people were always at WWE shows. But no, yeah, Goldberg was inducted to the SEC Hall of Fame, so good for him. Wild. And he's got a retirement match, huh?
Yeah. So he announced that on, I think it was SEC Now. I've never been a big Goldberg fan, but I can respect the contributions he's had towards wrestling. And there are an awful lot of people that just loved Goldberg. And I was a Sting guy, and getting to see Sting have the send-off that he had earlier this year was very special to me. Getting to see Great Muta with the send-off that he got as well. It's very clear that's important to Goldberg, Andrew. Like, who would you ideally put him against in a retirement match?
Well, I think he's going to get he's going to get Gunther. And you can call me Drew if you want. That's why I said Drew. But I will say, it seems like it's Gunther. For me, I would, and I know it's probably not going to happen due to everything that's going on, but I would love to see him go against Lesnar one more time. But I think it's probably signed, sealed, and delivered to Gunther. Yeah,
I don't think that they are going to bring back Brock in any capacity based on what I've heard. I just don't. Yeah, I don't think that is an element that they are going to go into, and I understand why. I definitely understand why.
Logically, it's Gunther. If I had like a pick, and I'm like, who can I pick that's currently on the roster? I would love to see maybe, I would love to see Roman retire Goldberg. Maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. So we'll see.
I wouldn't mind Braun Breaker if it's him beating Goldberg. I would like that. Some other details from Fightful Select. Lots of Raw talent backstage because they are filming Raw there tomorrow. So that's a little something to keep your eye on. But right out of the gate, we're going to be giving you guys the Bet Online AG odds favorites for some of these, because I had mentioned this week. This was one of the toughest shows to call because, quite frankly, there was some stuff that was just close, and there was other stuff that didn't matter or was just tough to determine a winner. But the new Bloodline was favored heavily over the OG Bloodline, and with good reason, Andrew. Solo Sikoa effectively got a clean win. This was a lot more about the finish of the match and the aftermath than it was the match itself. But how did you feel about this one up until the finish that saw Solo Sikoa at least sort of solidify his position within the context of this story.
I think that's what the goal was tonight, obviously, tonight in Saudi Arabia, but 100%. I mean, Solo Sikoa is a made man, and now he was even more made because Roman Reigns took a clean loss in the middle of that ring to Solo. Going into this, I thought the old bloodline, when you put together Jimmy, Jay, and Roman back, I thought, hey, why not get a victory here? That was the only match I got wrong. I wish I would have bet. Probably could have made some money today, but hey, I got this one wrong, and I was happy to get it wrong. Obviously, they're setting up War Games in Vancouver at Survivor Series. We see where that's headed. But for me, this was interesting because you can count Roman's pinfall losses on one hand, I think, in like 3 years. So,
yeah, I mean, it is extremely limited. I think it's abundantly clear they see the path as Jacob Fatu in some sort of major role here, as like Solo is the wolf in sheep's clothing, but it's not like he's useless. Like, this was the enforcer of the bloodline there for a while. It's clear that they see Jacob Fatu as like that guy.
yeah.
But Solo still is in for a big push. Do you think that they're going towards Solo versus Roman in a singles capacity towards Mania? What direction do you think that goes? Because to me, I think Solo versus Jacob makes a whole lot more sense at Mania than Roman, because I think Roman's got to be involved with something that is not Solo Sikoa. I'd rather have Roman and Jacob Fatu than Roman and Solo at Mania.
Well, I mean, they're very good points. I think they see a lot more money in Jacob than they do Solo. If you go back, Solo hasn't had a WrestleMania match. I mean, 39, he wasn't in a match. 40, he wasn't in a match. So 41 would be the time and the place. Against Roman Reigns, I'm going to pass. I think it's Roman and Rock. If Solo and Jacob want to have that match, I'm here for that. And I agree. Jacob could kind of get fed up with always being, Solo's kind of like lackey-ish and his muscle, and Solo gets all the credit. So I could see it. I don't think we're getting, Cody and Roman either. I think John Cena and Cody are fighting each other at Mania, but we can get to that later.
So again, this was more about what happened at the end of the match and the aftermath than it was what we saw in the ring. Like, the match was just like, it existed at best, is how I feel about it. I didn't think it was very good.
No, it wasn't a 5-star, anybody classic, no doubt about it. I think this was exactly what you said it was. This was to set up what we're seeing in Survivor Series, and the ending, how it all went down, is exactly what they were looking for. The stuff that went on into it, I could do without it.
And we see the new bloodline going to attack Roman after the match. They're about to put him through a table. Jay sort of prevents that, and really, what prompts Sammy coming out isn't the beatdown on Roman. It's because they're about to get very violent with Jey Uso, who he has, grown to appreciate and like and forgive, and said, you know what? I was in your shoes. I understand that. Sammy gets a huge pop. Sammy Uso chants. The new bloodline, or the old bloodline, takes over, but then Sammy accidentally hits Roman. I think this is to tease, like, oh my God, what will Roman do? What will Roman say? And it will be used as a tool to show, no, Roman has changed. Because Roman's babyface turn happened only in absence, Andrew. He didn't do anything to become a babyface whatsoever. He just simply wasn't there, and Solo was a heel. That's it. This is an opportunity for Roman to have like some sort of redeemable behavior and show that he's not that same old asshole that he always was.
Yeah, I think they started with last week, or this past week, I should say. It was recorded last week when Roman said yeet. There was always no yeet and all that other stuff. And you're right. Roman came back, and by de facto, the fans were like, oh, he's a babyface. Realistically, in my opinion, attractions like Roman, like Punk, they don't really get designations because the fans are going to do what they want with the characters in terms of cheering and booing. So Roman right now is definitely playing that babyface role. And I also do believe you're right. I think this is going to show Roman has a forgiveness side. He's a forgiving man. And he's just going to say, okay, Sammy, I know it wasn't on purpose, instead of the old Roman, which probably would have, destroyed him. So, yeah.
Yep. And I think that's a nice way of doing it. Admitting your faults, admitting and making those changes from a visual perspective. That is babyface stuff. There was a line that Corey Graves said. He said, Sammy never misses an opportunity to virtue signal. That got a lot of attention online. Yeah. I want to see like what I can find out about like maybe it's a rib between them. Maybe, there's an awful lot of people that pointed to his political beliefs as that. But there was also
he fed that line, Sean.
What is it?
Was he fed that line?
That's a good question as well. That's also a very good question. Very good question. But Roman had like the same camera shot as Cody after he lost at WrestleMania. That was an interesting touch. What did you make of that?
Yeah, WWE doesn't miss with this stuff. They really don't. The small little nuances and the cameras and the productions and the angles they shoot, they don't miss. I thought it was very very cinematic. It was cinema, as the kids like to say, I guess now. When stuff is the stuff that they like, they call it cinema. So
that is what the kids say. I can confirm. That's what
damn kids
they claim. We do have some of them in our audience that do in fact say this is cinema. Will Chisholm says, love that Jay came out by himself and he wasn't playing up to Roman's ego, but Jimmy did it in the match. Yes, that was the thing that the commentary tried to bring up as maybe they're not united. Jay did it out of a point of pride, Andrew.
Yeah, and Jay also gets an insane reaction. I mean, look at all the people. Like, they're not going to miss an opportunity for that. I would assume, and we all know what happens when you do that, but I'm going to assume that Jay is going to continue to come out by himself. I don't think we're getting that full, like, cohesive unit where the Usos come out together until maybe we're ready for WrestleMania and the Usos are in a tag match against the, what do they call themselves? Tama and Tonga Loa? What do they call themselves?
The Gorillas of Destruction, Gorillas of Destiny.
There you go. I think that's the only time we'll probably see the Usos come out together.
Man, if you thought that Jay Uso popularity was going down last night, the SmackDown tapings from last week, that was insane. Yeah. Dude is still insanely over. It's still incredibly over.
Moves a ton of merch, him, Punk, and Cody, and they're going to keep moving it.
Chris says, why does Goldberg need a retirement match? It'll draw money, and I think it's good to have like an acknowledgement of thanks for what you did. Here is you getting the appropriate send-off. And listen,
there's another company lurking. That's why. There's another company that would probably give him the retirement match, too.
Yes, probably. And I know that AEW had been interested in that in the past, but Joel Pearl, who hosts In the Weeds on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings and Fightful Overbooked, had a very good point. He said, I tried to tell you all he wasn't rushing it because Goldberg loves telling everyone how miserable he is while getting into Goldberg shape, but how much he loves to be a superhero for his children. I was like, okay, You know what? That's a pretty good point.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good point. I mean, his not so much a kid anymore. His son's playing for Colorado for Deion Sanders.
And that was the biggest thing when a lot of people were like, oh, Goldberg's going to, wrestle here, there, and everywhere. I had to look at Colorado's calendar and make sure that they weren't going to be there, and they had a bye this week. And then I'm thinking, all right, Saturday night's main event, the college football season's over. That could make sense on Long Island to have this match between Gunther and Goldberg. But it seems like Bill has let out the cat out of the bag. It's going to be in January. So I'm guessing the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Well, January is not the Royal Rumble. It's in February now.
That's right. So maybe it's the Netflix premiere.
That would be big. I mean, they had that when I had talked to people at the Intuit Dome, they were like, we're under the impression it's going to be PLE quality. A lot of people thought that came from WWE. A lot of that information came from the Intuit Dome people, especially. They thought that they were going to get something very big for obvious reasons.
Well, when you're paying $1 billion, I mean, at one point, some people who were paying a lot of money for wrestling shows asked for somebody who's no longer alive. So I could see why Netflix probably wants everybody.
Yep. Well, you don't have to pay $1 billion to go to our friends at BetOnline AG. By golly, they got a 50% welcome bonus. You can compare the competitors. They're trusted by millions. They got a VIP rewards program. They got payouts in minutes, highest credit card acceptance, and it's safe and secure. I'm going to be telling you guys about the odds and some of the underdog picks. I had no lock picks for this show because it was a very tough one to call, but we are, I think, 12 for 12 or 14 for 14 over the last year for our underdog lock picks. But there were a few of them. One of those underdogs was absolutely not Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill.
You should start a subscription service, Sean. I mean, you should charge people for your bets and make a lot of money.
I should. And you know what? The idea that I've got these lock picks, maybe I could lean into that.
Yeah, you could. I mean, my lock of the week for the NFL is your Bengals. Sorry.
Listen, here I am, and I got WrestleCade weekend in about a month, and I don't know how long I'm going to be there because they play the Steelers on Sunday morning. I got season tickets. This week is going to determine if I go to that game, because as I looked yesterday, I go, oh my God, the Bengals are one game out of the wild card right now. It's insane. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. But also, Max Crosby is going to feast on backup left tackle. It's going to be insane. But Jade and Bianca, monster favorites. And I got to say, this match with Damage Control and Chelsea and Piper, and then we had Jakara and Lash Legend. I felt like everybody won in this match. The Gear Makers won. That's for damn sure. There were sequins and diamonds all over the damn ring by the end of this match, but I felt like everybody looked good here. There wasn't a lot of downtime because when you have 8 ingredients in one match, you don't have to sell a lot. It's to the next spot. I thought the Jakara and Lash Legend looked incredible. They got an NXT chant in Saudi Arabia, for the love of God. I love this match. I thought I may have enjoyed this match more than any on the card from start to finish. But the finish especially, Doomsday Device on Piper Niven, was insane. How you feeling about this one, Drew?
This was a good one. And I will, you mentioned the crowd. I thought this crowd and the past 2 Saudi shows have been red hot. The crowds internationally have done a really good job. But, years before this, the Saudi crowd was okay. These crowds now are through the roof and lively. This match was good. We have an injury to Rhea Ripley that might put a damper on the whole War Games stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing these ladies get in the War Games match. I know a lot of people roll their eyes, but man, they worked their tails off in this one.
I am looking at War Games, and I'm like, this is a situation where I don't think they should force it. Yeah. I think that they should lean into the one that really matters and do that instead. Will Chisholm says, I'm happy Lash and Miss Jackson got an NXT chant. I like the 4-way. I loved the 4-way. Chelsea Green is a perfect example of how to get over with what you're given. She took the Karen gimmick and she nailed it. She has been on fire ever since. It's wild to think that WWE ever let her go, because anybody that saw her knew all she needed was a chance.
Yeah.
And I remember when she
TNA was good, man. She was good there.
The Laurel Van Ness stuff back then was so good.
She really digs into her characters, and that's what makes you a great superstar, a great attraction if you dig into the character.
There were some spots that I really liked as well, like Chelsea stepping down from doing like a big flip, and then Piper catching her, and then them setting up for the Kairi elbow to the outside. I like how they switched, because otherwise you're going to see the camera just focused on Chelsea and Piper holding each other. That's why you go up top and you film Kairi like they did. Kairi had one of the most intense pin breakups I've seen on the Jade spot as well. But the assisted power bomb with Lash and Jakara was cool. Them passing the body slam of Chelsea from Bianca to Lash Legend was really, really great. There were so many good spots here that I felt like everybody got highlighted. But was there anybody specifically that stood out to you in this match?
I mean, we talked about it. It's Chelsea for me. She's just very entertaining. She does things. She takes risks, but she's also she blends the art of professional wrestling with the entertainment and the comedy act that I think everybody needs. And I think this was exactly the type of match that she shines in. She shined in at Money in the Bank. She shined here. Chelsea just always shines for me.
My wife and I were watching Scary Movie, the original one from 2000 this week. And we saw Shannon Elizabeth, and we were like, man, Chelsea Green would kill it in this type of role. Like the same mannerisms,
it's a good comparison.
The same body language, all that stuff just would be really, really great to see her in that. But I thought that everybody delivered in this match. Everybody got shine, and this was a one of the better WWE women's tag team matches that I've seen. Very good stuff.
She'll have no problem translating to Hollywood if she wants to.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, she's already done stunt work.
Yeah.
Bet Online had one off here. We had Seth Rollins as an underdog, and Seth Rollins wins. Now, I got a little bit of a tip before this, and I think WrestleVotes even tweeted it out that they would announce the Fatal 4-Way. And I was like, well, Damian Priest just lost, but this leads me to believe if Seth Rollins is to be announced, he's probably going to win against Bronson Reed. I would be surprised if he makes it to that 4-way, or we'll talk about what will happen in the 4-way shortly. But this was a little bit shorter than I had anticipated, but it's very clear these two are not done, Drew.
No, they're not done at all. And, the finish, Bronson's staring up at Seth when he's going up the ring and the ramp, and he's got blood on his eye, and Seth Rollins just being like in disbelief. No, I don't think these two are done at all. I think they probably have a match at Survivor Series. I wouldn't be surprised, which we'll get to, but I think, Seth and Punk are probably going to go back on a collision course. It just depends on where they decide to pull that trigger. So we'll see.
These two work really well together, and I like that Bronson Reed immediately was like, no, come on back. Let's do this again type of thing. Like, they're very clearly not done with each other. Bronson told me that he is Peter Griffin, not the chicken in this situation. He made that very clear. He is Peter Griffin. From an in-ring perspective, like, the tsunami gets hit really quickly. They do the stair spot. Bronson's busted open, and there's this very menacing shot of him bleeding from above his eye. That stuff goes such a long way. Like, this guy was given the ball, and he's delivered with it. And you can tell that Seth Rollins wants to get him to the next level as well. You can tell that's a task that he looks at and he's taking to heart. What do you think is the ceiling for Bronson Reed as of right now?
I think he's easily world heavyweight champion material. I think they love that type of, physique. I think they love that type of character. Bronson is believable. Like, if he should have a, t-shirt. Bronson is believable. You could go anywhere, and that's a professional wrestler. Looks like he could whoop your ass. And he moves like nobody, beside, there's been other big men who move, but Bronson moves very, very well. And again, the right booking always helps. They're booking him right. Seth wants to get him over because both men came out of that match clean, in my opinion. And the big thing also is, you said it, like, if they do it right, the shots, if blood is done right and not overused, it can mean a hell of a lot more in professional wrestling.
Yeah, and this looked like it was hard way as well, at least. And I was given the indication it was. I mean, listen, I remember when Drew bled at Bad Blood, people were saying, "Oh, that blood capsule." Then you see that he got like 12
staples.
It was not.
Yeah.
No, it absolutely.
I remember watching that, and I said to myself, "Boy, he whatever he did it deep."
Yes, yeah, big time.
Yeah,
big time. We got John saying, "Is Penta going to WWE given his contract wasn't extended?" I'm still waiting for some official confirmation on that. It would surprise me if Penta wasn't brought into WWE eventually, but I also wouldn't doubt that they might put a little bit of time between it, because sort of or just reinforces what AEW believed to be true, what Penta told so many people in June, that he was negotiating a deal with WWE. And normally, if it was like their last month, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But when you got like 5 months left on your contract, they're going to take exception to that.
Here's a tip for all you kids out there, and some of you adults: never talk about your next move until it can be your move. Don't open any eyes and ears to what you're potentially doing if you're in a contract with non-competes and everything else like that, which are now gone. But you need to be careful. I have a question for you, because this circulates all over the internet. I think it's prevalent. The Motor City Machine Guns winning the tag titles, was that supposed to be the Lucha Bros? Because that's all I've seen, and I don't know if I believe it. So I'll ask you.
No, I don't believe it was. I'm gonna dig into that a little bit more, but I don't think that it was, because I don't think that WWE would have had firm creative plans unless they knew they were coming. And the discussion, I'm told, was always Motor City Machine Guns to SmackDown. Like, that was always what has been done. And I hadn't necessarily heard any direction for the Lucha Brothers. Nobody in an official capacity in WWE has ever mentioned Lucha Brothers to me. It was Penta talking about it. It was Penta saying, "Oh yeah, I'm headed there," to people. That's where that emerged from, ultimately. Yeah. Guys, get your super chats and humper chats in. Please leave a thumbs up on this video. We would greatly appreciate if you guys did that. Man, yeah, Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, not done.
No way. Survivor Series for sure.
Yeah. Nia Jax was a favorite at Bet Online, and she ended up getting beaten by the underdog, Liv Morgan. This was another match that simply existed to me. It was more about the interference than it was what actually happened. And
you think that took away from the match, Sean, with Tiffany?
A bit, kind of, sort of. I understand that they have to tease it as well, but I've had so many problems with that just sort of come full circle here, Drew. And one is, a lot of times in the past with WWE, even under a different regime, if you book champion versus champion, there's always some sly little way to not have a clean pin. Well, of course, we saw that. Rhea's injury is legit. I don't know if it is the injury they're mentioning, but she does have an injury. And guess what? Nobody knows who the hell is next for Liv Morgan. Why is that? Because they have spent the last 6 months building Liv and Becky. Becky ain't there. Liv and Rhea. Now Rhea ain't there. And the third or fourth most important person in the women's division has been Dominic Mysterio, who is not a woman.
It's true.
And shocker, he gets involved in another women's title or type of match. Raquel does as well. But when the second most built up person on your active women's roster is the bodyguard for the first person, I think you need to do better. They've put an awful lot into developing the trios and some of the teams on WWE Raw, but they haven't given you a reason to care about them either. It's been very, very just emotionless. I feel like an awful lot of things that I take issue with sort of came to a head here. And I was a little bit more pessimistic over the Rhea injury because I've been screaming this from the rooftops on Mondays. Build other contenders. And they just haven't done it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because it seemed to me like all signs pointed to Rhea and Liv on Long Island for Saturday night's main event in some sort of gimmick match. Obviously, it seems like that's not going to happen. So where do you go now? And for me, there's only a couple ways you can go with Liv. Could you speed up the Raquel Gonzalez turn? I guess you could, but I don't know where they're headed. I don't think anybody does.
So the interference was a little bit messy. Tiffany tries to cash in. Nia catches her and then is like, nah, don't do that. Hit the bricks. There was one kid in the crowd who was trying to talk sense into Tiffany. He's like, go. She's going to hurt you. But it's like Dominic gets involved again. I've seen this story. The in-ring stuff, like Nia's come a long way. There was a crucifix spot that looked more like a Samoan drop, and it just didn't go well. And like at that point, you just pivot. But this is what we thought would happen to avoid the clean loss. And then it did happen. And, you know, those titles, the Crown Jewel titles, we have learned are merely for decoration at this point. They're getting rings because the title belts are so expensive. They're just staying there at the WWE Experience in Saudi.
You don't want somebody robbing them or losing them. It's like $100K for those belts. A lot of people are like, it's pointless. It's like, nope, that's like somebody's getting risk of getting robbed. So
they're very, very expensive championships, and they're huge. The title belt, O'Shea Jackson Jr. had mentioned the title belt was bigger than Liv. It's enormous.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I bet you they weigh probably 40 pounds easily.
So what'd you think of the match and how it unfolded and ended?
The match for me was just a vehicle, like you said, to tease the cash in, and then it was to have Nia kind of lose by outside forces. So for me, I picked Liv to win. Made sense. Nia won the Queen of the Ring, so I didn't think they were going to have a clean sweep in Saudi where Nia wins the Queen of the Ring and then wins the Crown Jewel Championship. The match was okay. It seems to me like where we're headed is Tiffany cashing in on Nia eventually, probably after Christmas, so they could sell more of those pink Money in the Bank briefcases. And then I would assume we see Charlotte emerge. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I don't know what her timetable is or anything like that. I know that when the rumors of her coming back were happening, she just wasn't cleared. So I'll see what I can find on that. But man, I really want to see them develop contenders. Otherwise, it's like,
does this push them, Sean, to bring Becky into the fold if she's ready or want to be ready?
I bet her call log looks insane right now.
That's what I'm saying.
It looks nuts.
They have nowhere else to go. You talked about pivoting. I mean, you could pivot right back to Becky, but they got to do it quick.
Yes, definitely. I think that they would be interested in bringing her back. And everything I've heard is that those two sides expected to work together again in the future. And that was the plan.
That was the plan. Any news on an Oscar return? Not yet. I mean, she had that pretty significant surgery. So I'll see what I can find out. Does WWE keep with the Liv and Raquel versus Nia Tiff feud, or have them on opposite sides of a War Games match? I wouldn't push the War Games match unless it was necessary. And right now, much like I think that title is for decoration, I think War Games would be for decoration for that. And I think right now, unless you're moving Tiffany to Raw or something, which who knows how the rosters will even look in a couple months, I'm like, you got to get something ready on the Raw side. But I'm interested to hear what you think.
I think tomorrow's Raw that they're going to tape, obviously, for Monday night, I think is going to be, the SmackDown stars are already there, so you can kick off a Survivor Series build there, which is easy. Don't have to fly talent here, there, and everywhere. I don't want to see a War Games match that does not involve Liv versus Rhea. Liv captaining one team, Rhea captaining another team. We're not going to see it. So I think I'm with Sean here. Punt the War Games for the women. Have the Bloodline be the only War Games match. It means a lot more. It won't take away from anything else. And I would just stay. I like this tag match. You could do a traditional Survivor Series elimination match and add some pieces here. But
yeah,
I don't think Nia is going to defend her championship at Survivor Series, and I don't think Liv will either. So
Tim Traver sends another monster one. Thank you so much. He says, thanks. This is my last super check. Going to save up my money for a pickup truck. Hopefully not a die-cast one, my friend. He says, I hope next summer I head out your way, SRS. Man, I hope I see you. I would love to see you, Tim. Let me know if you end up out this way. Please, by all means, let's do lunch, hang out. Good old Kentucky. We can check out all the beautiful horse artwork out here. But he says, thanks for all the positive comments. Well, we just thank you for being here, Tim. We love having you, and hope that you're doing great. Again, sending my best to Kelly as well.
I was generous. That Tim's seems like a good dude.
He's a great fella. Great fella.
Donating money in this economy. You got
in this economy.
You got to be somebody who's a generous guy. So that's very nice of you.
Yes, absolutely, and we always appreciate it. We are almost exclusively publicly funded, with the exception of a few sponsors. We ain't making anything from clickety clacks these days, my friends. But I'll tell you what's important in this economy: making sure you get your sleep.
HelixSleep.com/Fightful changed my life before there even was a HelixSleep.com/Fightful. A few years ago, I needed a better night's sleep. I looked for the best mattress online, and I found Helix and their incredible reviews. I took their online quiz. It took me about 2 or 3 minutes, and I was matched up to their Dusk Luxe model. I now have 2 of their mattresses in my home. It's phenomenal. If somebody comes over and sleeps at my house, I want them to have a wonderful Helix mattress. I wanted to invest in my sleep and the comfortability of others as well. And you can do that as well at helixsleep.com/Fightful. You'll take that quiz, get matched up to one of the many mattress options that they have that suits your needs, and it ships straight to your door. And if for some reason you don't like it after 100 nights, they'll come and get it for free. They're not going to make you pay to ship it back. They're going to make it easy for you. Incredible reviews. Flexible financing options are available. helixsleep.com. Invest in your sleep. You will never regret it. Ideally, you spend 1/3 of your life in your bed anyway. You're going to want this. They've got an incredible warranty and tons of options for you. helixsleep.com/Fightful.
Check it out. I love helixsleep.com/Fightful. Wonderful company. Again, I have 2 of their mattresses.
Sleep is so important, Sean. People really just like poo-poo it, like, whatever, I'll sleep a couple 2-3 hours. No, you need your sleep, and mattresses are the worst. If you don't have a good one, it is bad. I constantly try and find new pillows, and I can't find a good one. So,
well, I bet that Kevin Owens is wishing he landed on a nice Helix Sleep mattress today. We did not get a Kevin Owens Randy Orton match. BetOnline had Kevin Owens as a big favorite, but instead Kevin Owens goes after Randy Orton with a chair. Also, as Ibu pointed out, he was wearing like Mankind pants today. He wasn't wearing his typical shorts, which was interesting. But we see them brawl. Owens hits a stunner on the ref, so I was like, okay, this match ain't happening. Triple H cannot do 7 matches on a PLE, confirmed. He's like, to hell with that. Orton throws Daivari, does an RKO on Pierce. Very smart of him to hit an RKO on the GM that can't punish him. And then we have Owens doing that big elbow through the table. This went much longer than the description indicates, but The crowd was all about it. They loved Randy Orton. They were there for Kevin Owens. I am invested in what Kevin Owens is doing. What's your outlook on this? It's clear they're continuing this to Survivor Series.
Yeah, which is interesting because, I would have thought that we're probably getting Kevin Owens and Cody for the title eventually, but it doesn't seem like we're headed that way. I mean, I guess they could. There's a lot of time between now and then, but yeah, I don't think Randy and Kevin are done with each other. And I think the little Easter eggs here and there about, Randy and Cody, Randy staring at the championship a couple times, I think they'll play up on that. So I think it's interesting. I thought them not actually having a match was an interesting way to keep both very strong here.
Yeah, I like the interactions. I am invested in every single thing that Kevin Owens is doing. I believe him. Kevin Owens has long had the knack of making sense of things that don't make sense and closing logic gaps, which I think that everybody needs someone in a wrestling creative room in general to say, well, this is why this doesn't make sense. Let's make sense of it. Kevin Owens just does that on his own. And Kevin Owens' performance is just getting me more excited for the Bloodline angle, because I'm like, how the hell is he going to react to Sammy? Because that's his buddy and that's who he has looked out for a long time. And Sammy is now cuddling up with the Bloodline again. That's the big question that I have.
Yeah, and Kevin's told Sammy, stay away from these guys. They're no good, et cetera, et cetera. So that's an interesting point. And all the rumor and innuendo online, I mean, is Kevin sticking around? That's the other thing.
Yeah. I know that they had approached him, as we do get a super chat from Will Chisholm that says, any news on Kevin Owens' WWE deal? There's a lot of speculation. I believe he's going to stay. The last I had heard him talking about it was it would be an interesting few months. He is very, very aware that Tony Khan wants him. He is very aware. And when I say Tony Khan wants Kevin Owens, Tony has long looked at Kevin as like one that got away for him. And obviously Kevin Owens made a fantastic decision staying with WWE when he did. He got 2 WrestleMania main events. He got Steve Austin coming out of retirement. Like, you can't replicate what WWE gave him in that sense. But the last I had heard, they had approached him, but no deal was done. But that was like well over a month ago, and I haven't had any updates since.
Yeah, and how could you even fathom what Kevin Owens has accomplished in his WWE career? He won the tag titles with his best friend at WrestleMania in the main event. Like Sean said, he wrestled Steve Austin's last match currently at WrestleMania in the main event. I mean, Kevin Owens re-signing with WWE, not resigning, re-signing with WWE has given so much to his career that I'm sure he never thought he would accomplish. So
get in those super chats and humper chats, my wonderful friends. Earmir says, trying to get tickets for Saturday night's main event. Do you think it will be a regular house show or a PLE? It'll be a PLE. Like, they're promoting it on TV. They are going to, we say PLE. It will be a broadcast show.
Yeah. There's no PLE in December, guys.
Yes, there's no PLE in December or January. So our Fightful Select report that we had up, please subscribe, indicated that the Saturday night's main event and the Netflix debut would effectively serve as the bridge for that, my gosh, Survivor Series to Royal Rumble gap. So I think that Saturday night's main event, it's not because it's on my hometown of Long Island. I think it's going to be huge. I honestly do. I think there's going to be a lot of marquee matches. NBC ZZE asked about Rock versus Cody at Saturday night main event. I would say less than a 2% chance.
Yeah.
I would maybe increase that to a 5% chance, because the reality is, if The Rock shows up the Saturday of Saturday night's main event and says, I would like to wrestle Cody tonight, and it's the only chance that you'll get to do it, then they will do it on the spot, no matter what else they have had promoted. And that is always a possibility, because as outlined in our Fightful Select report about The Rock this week, what he says goes.
I could say this,
Club, Drew, where fame trumps everything. Yeah. And The Rock can go in and do whatever he wants.
Well, yeah, he's on the board of directors. There's no doubt about that, Sean. And he absolutely can do what he wants. The question, if you rephrased it or re-asked it, could Rock and Cody be on Saturday night's main event, like appear?
Yes.
I would say yes.
I would imagine Raw on Netflix is a much more likely situation, though. DNC Digital says, I was looking forward to this post-show. Congrats to Drew. I've had great conversations with the both of you. Here's to working with you guys one day. Yeah, I'm sure, man. Drew's a great guy. I've known him for Gosh, almost 8 years. Almost 8 years, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me and Sean do talk. This isn't like something that's out of the blue
Yeah.
here, but thanks.
Yeah, we've been buddies for a very long time. What else do we got up here? Oh my God, LA Knight defeating Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. Interesting one out of BetOnline here. Andrade was the favorite earlier in the week, and it switched to LA Knight. I'll answer this super chat very quickly. Jake from Windy City says, do you know if the entire Raw library from all the way in 93 will leave Peacock when the transition to Netflix happens? No, that will happen whenever the Peacock deal is up. Right now, Peacock has the licensing to the library, the PLEs, and these shows. And whenever that deal is up, I believe Netflix will probably be given the sort of right of first refusal on something like that. But for a while, this will still be there. But LA Knight, Carmelo, and Andrade. Oh boy, this was good shit, I thought. My God. One of my favorite spots was this Carmelo head scissors that gets countered by an LA Knight BFT, and it effectively BFTs both of them. The nothing but net diving Fameasser is a phenomenal move. But what stood out to you here? LA Knight wins. I feel like he's having a really good reign with this title.
Yeah, I think the WWE just showed you how much they believe in LA Knight, because this is a match where you can have the champion lose and not be pinned and change a title if they wanted to. They didn't. I thought this was my match of the night. I know a lot of people like the women's tag match. For me, this was it. I thought all three men worked their asses off, and I enjoyed this. And I also enjoyed that LA Knight retained. I think if LA Knight is going to drop the championship at some point, give the equity to Carmelo, or give it to Andrade in a singles match where they could really use the equity. That's the thing that WWE has done better than most and better in more recent memory, is they've made their mid-card championships feel more special. So when the equity is passed, it's a big moment.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And this match was great. Anybody that says this was their match of the night, I completely get it, man. Like this was so much fun. And often in LA Knight's matches, he does things that are athletically ambitious that maybe he can't pull off, I would say even 70% of the time, and he still goes for them. But like going from the Liv Morgan Nia Jax match that I thought was not good to this after the Kevin Owens Randy Orton thing, what a contrast. And again, Andrade and Carmelo have just made fighting each other mean something. LA Knight has added a lot to that US title since winning it from Logan Paul. I think all these three guys are delivering in that US title scene, and we still don't have a definitive winner of the Carmelo Andrade series yet, Andrew, because LA Knight sneaks in and wins one after ruining one.
Yeah, so I think they'll probably go back to that and get an actual winner in that best of 7. Now would kind of be like best of 9, even though they're not singles matches. But yeah, no, LA Knight does some things in the ring where you're kind of like, I don't think he's gonna be able to pull it off, and he at least tries it, and sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But I really do dig Carmelo. He's the future for WWE along with Braun and some others. So I'm here for whatever they want to do with these three men. And realistically, LA Knight has had a really, really good run as U.S. champion. He's made that title mean something. Logan Paul definitely put a lot more eyeballs on it, but LA Knight is keeping that prestige alive.
We are far from the days of the Austin Theory reign where it was just like there, and it started with him trying to cash in on the U.S. title. Woof.
You mentioned pacing before you read this chat. I think that's huge in a card, any card. And Triple H and their crew over there do a very, very good job of pacing.
Phil says 3 for 3 in my predictions. Felt like advertising KO and Randy, but not delivering on it was odd. But what they did does add to the moment when they face off. A match at Survivor Series, perhaps. I would almost guarantee that, Andrew. How did you feel about them not doing the match, but using it as a tool to extend things?
First off, good to see you, Phil. I would say Triple H, they talked about it at Brooklyn SmackDown a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Triple H didn't want to sanction the match. So they kind of told you what was going to happen without it actually happening. I'm sure something will transpire between the two, and Triple H will actually be like, okay, you want this, you're going to have it, whatever. I didn't hate it. WWE is telling a story within a story. It doesn't bother me at all. It's professional wrestling.
Yeah, to me, this was used to extend it, and we got as much action out of this interaction than we would have out of the match as well. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do that. Cool Fool says, what are the chances Walter White and Jesse Pinkman make an appearance on Raw's debut? Maybe Saul Goodman and Kimberly Wexler as well. I wish they were a lot higher than they actually are because I miss that entire universe. I would legitimately tune in to like a mock-up of an hour of faux news footage after the end of Breaking Bad, like how it was covered on TV. That's how desperate for more Breaking Bad content I am.
There's going to be a ton of stars ringside and for that Netflix Raw.
Yes.
Wouldn't be surprised if you see like LeBron James. I know it's where the Clippers play, but LeBron's a big WWE fan. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some Netflix personalities that were on television shows. So,
yeah. Oh, the main event. Cody Rhodes defeated Gunther. Cody Rhodes was an underdog, but Terry Allen Jr. says Tama Tonga occasionally needs to speak. I think that him just making those sounds gets more buzz than almost anything that he can say right now.
How about that Corey Graves line during that too, which we didn't talk
say?
About? He's a few fries short of a Happy Meal.
Oh yeah,
like, okay,
that was an old Jerry Lawler. That was an old Jerry Lawler line back in the day.
Yeah, I love Corey. Corey Graves does a really good job on commentary, and some of his one-liners, his zingers are pretty good.
I think they did. I think he had the few fries short line in WWF Attitude the Game back in the day. Correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but
I think you might be right.
Yeah. So Cody was the underdog here, ends up winning. This is a case of really like the match, didn't like the finish. Now, I know that they prefaced this story and the story within the match of Gunther wanted to beat him with the sleeper. However, him wanting to beat Cody with the sleeper doesn't mean you hold on to the sleeper when you're being pinned.
I wanted the Jets to be 6-3, and they're not. So, I mean,
there you go. The spot is dumb. I don't like it. I've never liked it when it happened to Samoa Joe, Shayna Baszler. The only time I did like it was when Bret Hart and Roddy Piper did it. And then Bret Hart did it to Steve Austin years later. So I look at this and good match. They had the sleeper. It was basically sleeper, crossroads, powerbomb was the story of the match, that type of thing. But how was the match for you?
It was hard hitting. I expected that from both of these two gentlemen. They're both like very, very good wrestlers, and Gunther is, a technician in my opinion, and Cody can have a good match with the broomstick. I know it's a used expression, but it's the truth. The match was good. The finish was okay. I don't really dig too much into finishes. I understood what they were trying to accomplish, and for me, I'm with you. It was very anticlimactic for me. I was like, okay. But I get it. They want to make sure that Gunther remains as strong as humanly possible. He doesn't look weak by putting Cody in a sleeper, and then Cody reverses it. Cody just outsmarted the heel. I get it. I get the psychology behind it. But to Sean's point, they could have done something a little different.
I do like Ryan's point, though. He says Cody at least made an effort to pin the arm. Yes, I like it when wrestlers take a pin that shouldn't necessarily work and at least do their best.
Can we talk about the outrage, though, Sean, online about like how Gunther didn't win this? Why is that such a big deal?
To me, I love it when two guys who can't seem to afford to lose face each other, and then one of them loses. And to me, I don't think a pin without a finish is a cheap win or anything. You're there to pin somebody's shoulders to the mat. If you do it after a shoulder block, I don't care. You pin their shoulders to the mat. But hey, listen, Just Mask is happy. Cody made him $60 on Bet Online AG. Our good friends over there. But Eddie says, Jesus, 175 diamonds on Cody and Liv's ring. Please, Pierce and Aldis, match Fightful's awesome. Best $54 to get news immediately. Yeah, you get the news sent directly to you as we sort of decipher that a little bit. FightfulSelect.com, get news sent straight to your phone. We got a Discord that's exclusive. We got a bunch of podcasts. Right now, Alex and Kate are doing a great review where Alex does not watch the Saudi shows. And Kate gives him basically two truths and a lie, and he tries to figure out which one is accurate. It's called Sands of Blind. Make sure you guys check that out.
Kate's a gem. So whatever she's doing, I'll watch. But there's a lot of people who hate on Fightful and they still subscribe. So what does that?
Who?
What does that tell you?
Who?
What does that tell you? Best $54 in the game, right? And
Yeah.
and the haters even subscribe. So
There were definitely at least 10 people I had to hit with a "that's you. You following me?" when Indy Hartwell joked and pretended she didn't know about her own release on my tweet. Yeah, guys, I don't post release info before they know about it.
You also vet and vet and vet. So.
Yeah, I am a veterinarian. That is true. Eddie says, unfortunately, like I told you, Sean, Punk versus Gunther at the Rumble. It seems like they're not going the Punk Gunther route at May or at Survivor Series, but he says Goldberg cost Gunther the title. Gunther Goldberg Mania, Punk Seth for the title, and Seth wins the Rumble.
What did I miss? Why couldn't we get Punk and Gunther?
They're doing the Fatal 4-Way for a title shot against Gunther. And it's going to have Sheamus, Seth, Dominic, and Damian. Damian, who just lost, by the way.
And what happens if Bronson Reed comes in and destroys everybody?
Well, it's no DQ, so whoever rolls over onto the other one. I mean, we know what's going to happen. We know Finn's going to cost Damian.
Right.
Bronson's going to cost Rollins.
Right. Who's left?
Ludwig's going to cost Sheamus. Maybe Pete Dunne. And then who's left?
Yeah. Okay.
Dominic Mysterio is left.
Interesting. All right.
Yes. Yeah. But what I wanted to see, I wanted to see John Cena win the Royal Rumble and beat Gunther at Mania for the title.
I think. Go ahead.
I think WWE is completely detached from romanticizing Ric Flair as the co-17-time champion. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they're ready to say, no, our guy actually is.
And what better person to do that than the man who wants the match, and that's Cody Rhodes. Cody asked John 2 years ago for a match if he could make it happen. John said he didn't know how much he had left in him. Rhodes passing that title match, that championship victory to John at WrestleMania. The Flair and the Rhodes are synonymous with each other. I think it happens.
And you could always do a rematch down the line where Cody wins it back. But Juice Springsteen, another good friend of the show, says if Drew is right and we get Cena Cody at Mania, will Cena go over for the world title at 20 years after his first world title, or do you think Cena would rather lose his final Mania match?
Is there something wrong with you, Juice? You smoking cigarettes backwards? If John Cena is in the main event of a WrestleMania match for a WWE championship, he's winning it.
I think you gotta have him win the title. I don't know when, but him win the title, and of course he'll lose it to somebody. That's the beauty of what he said. He's got his full year, barring any injuries. But also, he said, I'm looking for it to end at the end of that year, but it will go until, I need it to go. So if he happens to win the world title and hold it for some extended period of time, he's going to put somebody over for that title. If there's one thing I believe, despite, the stuff that happened with Nexus and some of the questionable decisions, John Cena never really getting a big heel run after the first one, I'm very confident he's going to do business the right way. It matters a lot to him, I believe.
Yeah. I could see John rolling into SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium, them trying to, put 160,000 people for 2 nights in New York, New Jersey. It's New Jersey. It's not really New York, but they're going to call it New York, New Jersey. I think John can roll in as champion and maybe have a rematch with Cody and or take on The Rock. Maybe, who knows?
You know what I want to see? John Cena, CM Punk as tag team champions at some point next year.
That'd be, listen, I wouldn't hate it. There's a list of opponents that Cena needs to have matches with. Cody's one of them. Punk's one of them. Roman's definitely one of them. And Gunther as well. So there's 4 for me.
Alexis Saveos says, what if we get NXT women's War Games? Fatal Influence, Cora, Roxanne, Zaria, Kalani, Julia, Vicker, Jordan Grace promote NXT and the women. That would make a lot more sense to me than anything on the main roster right now. Besides Bloodline, obviously. Ida Crosis could be Cena versus Goldberg, both last match. Oh, no. That match would suck so bad.
Yeah, don't do that.
It'd be horrible, Drew.
Yeah, don't do
It'd be
that.
horrible, Drew.
You want to see a WrestleMania 20 like reenactment with Goldberg and Lesnar? Don't do it. Don't do it.
Drew, tell the people where they can find you. What you got going on?
It's right here. I'm at Andrew Baydala on X. I just put out videos, my thoughts, where I think things are going. Sometimes they're 5 minutes, sometimes they're 90 seconds. I like to do the quick reviews after shows. I know that a lot of people enjoy the elongated review shows. For me, I just sit back and do 90 seconds and I'm in and out. So yeah, follow me on X, and I appreciate the time, Sean.
Hey, we appreciate having you again, longtime friend, and so glad to finally have you on a show with me. But guys, subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. A lot of the news that you're reading online, you can get it there, not just first, but it's sent directly to your phone or email. $5 a month, $54 a year. We went out of the way to make this the most inexpensive wrestling exclusive news service that exists, and we have not raised our prices in almost 7 years now. So very, very happy and proud of that. But please, by all means, subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. I'm in the Discord all the time. And Kate and Alex are still live right now. So until next time, my friends, we're out.